That is the huge fight, massive fight. I am excited for this one. Khamzat Chimaev, boys, the man that has been unbeatable so far inside the octagon, going up against Colby Chaos Covington. This fight is going to be ridiculous on so many levels, and it's going to answer a lot of questions, certainly about Khamzat Chimaev.
There are some fights that seem to have everything. High-stakes outcome, entertaining and wild pre-fight occurrences, world-class athletes, and a guarantee of violence once that cage is shut.
My goodness! Now he's got the back! That's it! He's got the chain!
Khamzat Chimaev versus Colby Covington is one of those matchups. Both men are currently at the apex of the welterweight division, ranking in 3rd and 2nd respectively. And without a doubt, the winner will get a title opportunity against either Leon Edwards or Kamaru Usman. For Colby, it'll mean a 3rd crack at the belt, while for Khamzat, a long-awaited journey of struggle, resilience, and hard work might finally be rewarded. With such opposing and identical fighting styles at the same time, the expectations for how crazy and entertaining this fight could be is through the roof. Welcome back, Fight Fam. Let's begin with Khamzat Chimaev.
You gotta be kidding me! You gotta be kidding me!
I want to fight with the guys like me, who comes to the war, kill somebody.
At this point, you tend to run out of superlatives to define what Khamzat has done in the UFC. Phrases like unprecedented or phenomenal will likely fall short in an attempt to measure Chimaev's success, since he made his debut just over 2 years ago. His success is further impressive when you take into account the fact that he started training MMA at just 23 years of age.
30 seconds.
5 years later, and he could be right on the cusp of the UFC welterweight glory. And based on his recent showings, you'd have to be very brave to bet against him. Bar his fight against Gilbert Burns, Chimaev has been hit less than 5 times in the octagon. On average, he's getting hit once every fight. On any level, that's quite a phenomenal feat, but the fact that he's doing it in the pinnacle of combat sports in the world across 2 weight divisions just adds further to the allure. Similar to Covington, Khamzat is a grappling and wrestling specialist, but that's where the similarities end. His insane and unearthly pressure in the early stages of fights has seen him surmount his opponents before they even get a chance to take a breath. Elite fighters like Kevin Holland and Gilbert Burns are a testament to Chimaev's insane power within the first round. And if he wants to achieve his long-time dream of becoming the welterweight champion of the world, he will be hoping to add Colby Covington to his list of lifeless opponents. And given his deep array of skill sets, it's easy to see why he's the favorite heading into this fight.
He's extremely powerful, he has great wrestling, he has great striking, he's super aggressive and wastes no time.
Hunger. Ever since he made his UFC debut in 2020, there has been an unfillable hunger that exists in the inner parts of Chimaev. In many ways, this hunger has been his most striking and endearing aspect. His activity rate of 6 fights in 2 years is right up there with the highest in the whole of MMA, coupled with the fact that they have all been dominant wins. Compare this with Colby Covington, whose activity rate leaves a lot to be desired. He fights once a year, at best, and has lost 2 of his last 4 fights. And then you begin to realize the stark difference in the hunger and motivation of both fighters. Power. Another way where Khamzat vastly excels over Colby is in his ability to shut his opponent's lights out with one shot. You could have all the skill and technical ability in the world, but just one clean power strike and the fight is over. And Khamzat clearly possesses that ability, as we saw in his fights against Gerald Meerschaert and Gilbert Burns. This makes for a really bad reading for Colby, who has shown that he can get knocked down, as he has in his last 2 fights against Usman and George.
Let's take a look at this here.
It's just a short left hook.
Beautiful left hook as Colby's throwing a big long one.
And George Masvidal. Size advantage. In addition to the massive power discrepancy between both men, is an even bigger size advantage for Khamzat. Even though both men might weigh at 170 pounds on the scale, come fight night, their weights would be miles apart. Khamzat coming in at 6'2" is one of the biggest welterweights you're ever going to see in the UFC. Compare this to Covington, who is arguably one of the smallest welterweights in the UFC roster. This size difference is more than likely to nullify the grappling prowess of Colby Covington. which means that he would need to be more than efficient in the striking department. Which brings us to our last point. Striking. Heading into this fight, both men could be said to be primarily known for their ability in the wrestling department, but based on recent showings, it's pretty evident that Khamzat has the advantage, albeit a slight one on the feet. And that could very well be the decider of this matchup. Unlike Colby's long and looping punches,
Ability to explode.
Chimaev has tighter and more efficient combinations with a wider range of attacks, and this is sure to tip the tide of the fight more in Chimaev's favor. Now, this is by no means underestimating the expertise and experience that Covington brings to the table. He is an all-time American wrestler with a quite impressive 15-3 record in the UFC. And it could be argued that if Usman didn't exist, Colby would have captured welterweight gold. But the reality is that age is no longer on his side. He's a 35-year-old veteran and has been in a lot of wars, and these wars come with a gradual depletion of his chin and ability to push a remarkable pace as he used to in his younger days. Couple this with his lack of activity in recent years, and the story of Colby Covington beating Chimaev and contesting for welterweight gold once again becomes less feasible.
As we know, Colby goes out there and the wrestling is a massive part of his game plan. Now, I'll be honest, it's maybe a hot take, but I don't think he uses it quite as effectively as Boris does. Khamzat gets a hold of people and just rags over them. But you can't deny the effectiveness that Colby has. He uses his wrestling, he pushes a tremendous pace, he mixes up combinations with the hands to the takedown to the hands, non-stop pressure from start to finish.
But what do we know? With so many ways past fights have gone, trying to make an accurate prediction for this one will be ill-advised. Will Khamzat's streak of early pressure and dominance be too much for the fighting veteran Covington as he seeks to become the next in line for the welterweight belt? Or will Colby be able to upset the odds and make one final push for his dream of becoming the undisputed champion of the world? These and so many more questions are sure to be answered in the months to come.